So with that, ladies and gentlemen, if you give your kind attention to Dan Sears, my favorite Columbia Riverkeeper, and soon to be yours. Dan.
Stand on the lower one. That sounds good. My name is Dan Sears. I work with Columbia Riverkeeper. So the oil train issue has been something we've been watching for about 3 years, and with a whole coalition of groups, there have been people all over North America fighting to stop reckless oil trains for 3 years since that disaster in Lac-Mègantic. That happened on July 6, 2013. Just a week or two later, the Port of Vancouver signed a deal for the largest oil by rail terminal in North America. 360,000 barrels of oil in trains. And so for 3 years, along with folks like the Sierra Club, I should credit Cécile Grenez, who translated that. I do not speak French, and so I was very grateful to have someone who did nearby. People have been really waiting for either a decision to stop the reckless oil train traffic or an event that would be emphatic enough to make us stop. And on June 3rd, an oil train derailed in the Columbia River Gorge in what many called a wake-up call. It wasn't really a wake-up call. People were awake and wide awake. In fact, several of us were sitting in a meeting about what we would do if an oil train derailed and spilled into the Columbia River when the oil train derailed and spilled into the Columbia River. One of our attorney's wife works at the school that had to be evacuated, so we knew very quickly that there was a problem. And our executive director drove to the scene and was there before the fire people. And what he described over the phone to me was just terrifying. You know, them trying to ferry students away, a fire burning so close to the school that if the wind had been blowing at all, even just like tonight, a light breeze, it would have blown it directly into Mosier. So, to their credit, folks in Mosier are taking up this cause the way the people in Lac-Mègantic have. And their fire chief has been very vocal and said, this is insane. This is an insane idea to keep shifting these oil trains down the gradient through that gap in the Cascade Range we call the Columbia River Gorge. Eugene isn't off the hook. You have the Union Pacific line coming through Eugene. They're obviously the rail company that was supposed to be carrying these oil trains. What happened in Mosier was very bad, but it could have been worse. They had 16 cars derail. 4 of those spilled, and that caused that huge plume of fire that we were watching well into the night on June 3rd. They finally extinguished early in the morning on June 4th, and that spilled 42,000 gallons of crude oil, according to them. It may be a larger number, into the area right there where Rock Creek feeds into the Columbia River. Critical salmon habitat for sockeye salmon. Very important area for the tribal fishery, for the Columbia River tribes. Within a week, we saw Senator Merkley, Senator Wyden, and Governor Brown, to their credit, come out and call for a moratorium on oil trains. They didn't do that out of their own good hearts. They did it because they heard from people all over the state, including people from Eugene. So thank you for standing up and standing with the people of Mosier. It's one of the things we heard, and it made a real difference. So what happened in Mosier is this moment now where we can look at, what are we going to do next? It's clear that we have to stop whatever new proposals might be coming down the line. The largest of these is the Tesoro proposal in Vancouver, Washington. It would be about 45% the Keystone XL pipeline in capacity. That's 5 trains a day, just like the one that derailed, with the same unsafe tracks, with the same lag bolts that could fail at any moment, causing a train to go off the rails. Into the Columbia River, into a town, into an area where maybe this time the school isn't so lucky. And this is the issue that keeps us up at night, next to maybe Hanford and nuclear waste. This is right there, you know. And it should keep everyone up at night, not just because of these acute, in-our-face safety risks, but the issues that 350 Eugene and others have been raising about the climate implications of building out a new infrastructure, a new addiction for decades and decades to come. You know, Tesoro is putting experts out right now to try to justify its project, trying to tell the state of Washington why it should approve this huge bad idea. They keep saying that the lifespan of this project will be 20 years. That's 20 years we've wasted if we let them build this, not moving towards something better. Deepening that reliance on the most dirty of oil fuels, that fracked fuel, either the fracked fuel out of North Dakota or the tar sands out of Canada. Either one could flow this way. So with the Stand Up to Oil campaign, with this big coalition that includes groups like ours, groups like 350, tribal nations, the Longshore Union in Vancouver, which is staunchly opposed to this. They don't want to work in the middle of a loop track with burning oil trains. Counterintuitive, you know, it's amazing. We're at the position now where we're not only arguing for us to stop new projects, but we need to stop the trains that are running now. What happened in Mosier should be the last one. That should be the last train. It should be over. And we're seeing, even now, our elected officials who've been slow to the party, slow to pick it up, now become fierce advocates. And Senator Merkley was on OPB just minutes after the Federal Railroad Administration issued a report saying, well, it's all UP's fault and it was one broken bolt. He said, how can one broken bolt be the problem? How many bolts are there? We need to stop these oil trains from coming through the gorge because this seems like this could happen at any moment. And it could happen here where the trains may not be 100 cars long, but you've got a nice 20 to 25 car chunk in a train that isn't even noticed to the state of Oregon. The state doesn't even know is coming through Eugene or Corvallis or Albany. Now, these towns are also at risk. So I want to thank you for being here. And what we're going to do together, and Eugene has a huge role to play in this, and people in the Valley, is make a case for the state of Oregon, not just to shake its fist at the federal government, but to take real action to stop these oil trains from moving through. That's where we're headed next. And if you ask me, the Tesoro project in Vancouver is a dead man walking. I've never seen a project as ill-fitted to the Columbia River as this one. They tried to argue this past week that oil spills create jobs. I'm not making this up. You can read the Vancouver Columbian. And, you know, if there's a problem, the fishermen can move. You know, fishermen can move. Substitutions are part of the equation for an economist. So this is what we're up against. They do a lot of easy, free work for us by making statements like that, but it's going to take us pushing really, really hard to make sure that oil train, that horn we're hearing, isn't more and more oil trains for more and more generations. And we can do this together. Thank you.